Hello everyone, I'm Tally, this is Farrell and we're bored of it, and welcome to our review of Unconscious Mind, a heavy Euro for 1 to 4 players based around the development of psychoanalysis. You play as chums of Freud, treating your patients via dream symbolism and publishing your work.
Yes, so this was actually a really hyped game when it went on Kickstarter and kind of after, and we missed that hype train a little bit, obviously by the fact we're reviewing it now. It just, I don't know, I didn't really buy into the hype at the time, and now, a few years on, let's see if it holds up. So before we get into it, you need to know that this was a review copy sent by the publisher, and also if it's of interest to you, we now have YouTube membership, where if you so wish, you can support the channel and you get a bunch of perks such as seeing our videos early, private shorts and all kinds of things like that. And you can kind of contribute as well to the direction of the channel if you so wish. But with that, let's get into how to play.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
The core of Unconscious Mind is arguably the insight system. Next to your player board, you have a disc which has 3 circles and then further split into thirds. And these different sections represent different types of insights and their level. Insights are spent in order to psychoanalyze your patient's dreams, and the dreams are represented by cards. The dreams require specific types of insights to be spent, and that allows your patient's treatment tracker to move towards completion. There are 2 different types of patients, one that will give you in-game powers and the other gives you end-game scoring. The main way you'll gain insights is through sharing ideas, e.g. placing a worker on the worker placement spaces on the main board. Some of these spaces will allow you to generate or improve your insights, whereas others will let you buy tiles that slot into your player board and they may be activated at the end of your turn. This is because depending on the row that you choose for your worker placement action, your ink pot will move a certain amount of spaces, potentially allowing you to activate your tiles depending on where it lands. These tiles will generally allow you to gain insights or manipulate insights. So the game proceeds in a cycle of sending your workers out, recalling your workers, or healing your patients on your turn. Certain things you do in the game will increase Freud's reputation, such as healing 5 patients, and when his reputation is maxed out, the game will end. Some of the scoring will come in-game, mostly from healing your patients, but you'll also score for various things at the end of the game, such as how much you filled your player board with tiles, your reputation, and your end-game scoring patients. The first thing you might think is, what the hell are you talking about with ink pots and insights? This game is totally abstracted word soup, the type of game that you'll teach and people will just stare blankly back at you. And it is just generally abstracted, so you need to come for the gameplay and the artwork and not the thematic elements. Despite that, and we say this as people who commonly play heavy Euros, it was really easy to get into. From the first game, everything just clicked and felt very natural, which is pretty impressive design given all of the different elements.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game of interconnectivity. So there's all these different elements which are really well put together, and it's very artful how you're able to easily navigate between one system and another. And I mean, there's so many that we didn't even get to mention in the brief overview. You've got the location board, you've got research, you've got publishing, you've got location tags. You know, all these things are things to navigate. And this game is a game for the people who like navigating different systems in a game and using that navigation to set themselves up to have big turns, because this is a game that allows you to have big combo-tastic turns. So if you like that kind of thing, this is a game for you. Something we found very pleasant about Unconscious Minds is that for a heavy Euro, it's actually not very restrictive on taking actions or having resources. The action spaces themselves tend to have a lot of places where ideas can point to them, so you tend not to be blocked off early on, and you tend to have a lot of things at your disposal, and if you are missing something, it's relatively easy to get a hold of it. And this tends to combine really well with the combo-tastic elements because you can set up big turns with good planning, but Also because that there's always 5 different ways to get to where you want to go. And having such great amounts of choice is always a positive. That ends up making unconscious mind almost an efficiency puzzle or an efficiency game, because there are actually a lot of competitive elements in this game where players are competing to do things first, such as there's a set of goals over here. And if you're the first to complete one, you'll get reputation, and whoever ends the game with the most reputation will get extra points for everything they've done in the game, such as curing patients and things like that. So what it ends up being is a game where you're looking at those 5 options I mentioned to figure out which is going to get you to the post first ahead of the other players. Are you going to be the first one to cure 5 patients? How are you going to do that the best? And kind of assessing this landscape to weave your way through. There is a downside to this interlinking of systems, and I mean, that is done masterfully, but because this game isn't one where you have resource scarcity and a lot of the puzzle each game comes from navigating the system, and because it's the type of game where everything is going to be touched upon in every game to a certain extent, because everything's so interlinked. You know, it's not one of these games where this section can be ignored one game and then, you know, the next game you get to lean into that instead of what you're doing. You're doing a bit of everything. And what this means is that the longevity, in a sense, is impacted because you're seeing everything every game. And literally in the first game I played of this, I said afterwards, I really wonder how different it's going to be game to game. And the answer is not very, unfortunately. And one part of this, I think, is, to me at least, there is a surprisingly low number of patient cards. There are very few, and you tend to see the same ones game to game, have the same kind of in-game powers or same end-game scoring triggering from these patients every game, and that doesn't help to make it feel different each time you play. There are a lot of really nice elements in Unconscious Minds, but to me, overall, it's hampered by the fact that because you don't have resource scarcity and because you're doing most everything every game, it feels the same game to game. Whereas other heavier games tend to have more game space or more puzzle to get your teeth into. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that I did find myself wanting to go back to and keep having another crack, to be fair, but then that's mostly probably because you were winning. There was a few different slight shifts in strategy that I wanted to try, but overall those differences aren't that different game to game.
Yeah.
And I agree, you can easily sort of start maxing things out, and then once you've kind of gamed it, where do you go? But that said, I really enjoyed playing it. I think obviously the theme and everything, whilst we said it's kind of abstract, but the visuals and the art and everything is very unique, and the insight system is really novel as well. So managing that, manipulating that, and putting your brain to work on the puzzle of optimizing that, I do think is very cool and unique.
Yeah, I agree completely. I do think the insight system is almost double-sided in that. I agree it's like nice and novel, but at the same time, because it's so abstracty, it also, I guess, doesn't help to impart any like thematic elements which would make you, I don't know, want to come back more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least for me. But yeah, I mean, I do like all the individual elements. It's just definitely one of those games for me that I feel like I've seen it now that we've played it kind of 5-6 times.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine wanting to get it out now over something else unless we left it for a long time.
Yeah.
But I think there are things I really like I really like something we haven't talked about is the kind of, I don't even know what you call them actually off the top of my head, the tiles.
Notebook, I think.
Yeah, notebooks where you basically can obtain these notebooks and they have little like kind of actions on them, and you pop them in your player board and you kind of build up this like tableau where you'll occasionally be triggering rows or columns, and it will give you a bunch of free actions. And I think that's really interesting to get to build your own action board and kind of manipulate your insights in the way that you so wish.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
And it gives you something else to consider, because what I was sometimes finding is that even though I could activate a row, I might not have the things required, like the right insights to be actually take advantage of them. So it's like another element of, okay, you get to do these things for free, but have you lined up everything in order to get the most out of it?
And it's a core part of the combo-tastic turns that I've talked about, right? So I think that's really nice. And this is one example of how you can set yourself up. And I really like that element. I also liked how it's very competitive for a Euro game, because you really are fighting over reputation and like certain elements to get to them first. And it feels like a big loss if you don't get to those objective goals first. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to like. You know, I think the whole element of treating and curing patients is very interesting as well, trying to get these insights and spend them. And I think because, as I said, it's so free flowing with resources and actions, there's actually quite a nice almost entry point for if you're trying to bring people up to heavy games, I think, because there's not a lot of pitfalls in this game, just that they will be less efficient, you could say.
Yeah, it's almost interesting that you have like a maximum of 2 patients, because you could maybe expand it out and do more, and then that would be a way of like getting to do more over time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it goes with the insight wheel, because eventually it would just be a bit crazy because you'd have so many insights flying around that you need to stack up to be able to like line them in a row, right? Because usually you want to treat both patients when you do a treat patients action.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So I think in summary, it's a really nice game. It has really nice elements. If it sounds like these are things you'll enjoy, then you'll enjoy this game. Just for us, I think the longevity might not be there, because it feels samey game to game compared to other games that we like. So that is our review of Unconscious Minds. If you have any questions, please ask us. Please consider subscribing or joining our membership if you haven't already. And we really appreciate you watching. See you next time. Bye.